and who will watch later, tell them some more about who you are and who you be.
Mm, I'm all about creating love and spreading compassion, whether whether it's a corporate group or it's an individual,
Mhm.
because I don't know. I mean, I do a lot, but we all do stuff. We all do stuff. We have labels, we have a job, and I don't think it's not who I am. It's just the stuff that I do. So it doesn't matter what I do, what the labels are. Uh, I mean, everyone's reinventing right now. I've been reinventing since October. I completely stepped away from a lot of the things that I was doing last October. And so I think it's a period of reinvention. That's even what we were going to talk about today,
Yeah.
is that, I mean, I'll just keep it really clean with you. I don't give a fuck what you do. I really don't anymore. Something shifted in October and November, is that I just don't care what someone does. I care who you are. And I don't think anyone really cares what I do. I can say real estate investor. I can say leadership coach, and I can say all the right words. I can say say the right things and do those right things. It's just not who I am. And maybe I crossed a line. I think something happened
Let's talk
in the
about that.
past couple.
Let's talk about
Yeah,
that.
something
So,
crossed.
yeah, dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
So, for people who may not be, connecting with it right now, but following along. So what does that mean? Like, not who you are, like title wise or what you do occupationally, but who you
Hmm.
be and how you show up. Talk more about
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling some friends, it's interesting the things that are going on in the world right now. It really is. I mean, it's perfect in many ways, because it is forcing us as individuals and humanity to evolve or get taken out. I mean that from a cold kind of place, because if you know me, I genuinely am about love. I'm a lovey guy. I'm about love. I'm about compassion. I'm about being generous and being a contribution. And that's simply who I am. Whether it doesn't matter what my role was, my title was, whether I'm in front of a corporation, whether I'm in front of groups, whether I'm coaching an entrepreneur, whether I'm talking to a friend of mine that's going through a life-changing liver disease and is could die any moment.
that.
It's all about who I am. And I invite anyone else that's eavesdropping on this conversation to remember is that you are not a leadership coach. You're not a corporate trainer. Or are you really? I'm not going to tell you you're not. Is that really who you are? Because it's right now, I bet you, if you're watching and listening to this, you're probably, the wheels have been turning and there's all of this cognitive dissonance going on right now in your life. And you're going, oh my gosh, who am I? Because you're losing your identity. Maybe like me as well. It's like you're losing the identity of, remember, before October, I was on the road every single week as a corporate trainer and as a speaker in front of groups. It's interesting because my friends now are kind of getting where I'm coming from, because while I stepped away in October, them right now they're going like, oh my gosh, I have no job. I mean, if there's no conferences, you have no job. And I'm like, dude, this is not who you are. What do you mean it's not who I am? I'm a speaker. I'm like, okay, let's dig a little deeper. Who are you really? What are you about? And I know this is kind of sound kind of woo-woo to someone of maybe this is what isn't what they planned on when
Yeah, and
they
we get
eavesdropped on
to
this.
experience some woo woo right now.
I mean, this is the part of reinvention. This is the part of self-reflection of you are not your label. You're not your label.
So Thomas, let's dig in. Like, what's the starting point for that? So, if you want to use your friend
Yeah.
who, had a halt in business per se, or anyone who's
Mhm.
listening or watching, like, what's the starting point to look at who am I?
Well, take a deep breath. Remember that you're still breathing right now. I've shared that with a lot of friends, and these are things. And one of those friends is me. I look in the mirror and I go,
Intimacy. Yeah.
"Hey, just breathe. Just breathe. Take a deep breath. You're still here. Who are you really? oh, I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I'm a friend, I'm all of those. And just remember, you're still here, you're still breathing, even if your job has been eliminated, even if you are out of work, even if the kids are home and you're questioning your sanity, if you're even a good mom or a good dad because you want to strangle them sometimes. I'm like, welcome to being human. Just remember. So good starting point is, okay, so breathe. Who am I really? I'm loving. I'm compassionate. I'm generous. I'm kind. And then you can add what other type of labels that you want. It's a great starting point.
Beautiful. So what I'm hearing you say is, for those who are, and I really like that piece, like struggling with identity. And I love how you just came right out the gate. Like, we are not corporate coaches. We are not corporate trainers. We are Tiffany, we are Thomas, and we are loving, and I am intimate, and, all that stuff. So thanks for just, coming right out the gate. And, that's one of the things I love about you is that it's unfiltered, and it's unfiltered wrapped in love. If there's a filter on it, it's love, it's compassion, it's curiosity and integrity with you. So what I'm hearing you say is that first step is breathe. So, it's like that pause, slow down that Maria Alejandro shared with us on Monday. And, what an incredible moment we're in right now. We're in a collective pause. So, and it just seems like a shampoo bottle, right? Wet your hair, lather. That when we say breathe, like, it just seems so intuitive, like it's like automatic. So, what are some of the things that might have people forget to breathe? That first step.
Uh, Anger. I mean, think about it. When I'm angry or I'm stressed, I hold my breath.
Mm.
You know, it's and I was really fortunate that when I was doing and leading a lot of leadership development workshops, it doesn't matter whether it was on a webinar or whether it was live and in person,
Mm-hmm.
is I also had participants do the exact same thing. I'd have them do a little exercise, and then it would be always a little bit of a joke because I would say like, stand up straight, put your, hold on, man, I love technology.
You look good
Yay, I
though.
love technology.
Nothing's changed on
Yay,
our
I
end.
love technology.
Me too,
Good.
by the way.
Okay.
We're getting to
Just
the best
it
friends.
just it just, it just froze up. Anyway, yeah, I with a group, I'll just say, hey, stand up straight. Great. And put your hands by your side. Be mindful. It was just the exercise isn't what I'm saying, but it's to watch people check out, get in their head, and then start doing stuff.
There it is.
And then one of the jokes is, and continue to breathe, and people always start laughing during that time in the group because they know that they stop breathing.
Yeah.
And it's a completely normal human thing, is that when we're focused intently on something, happens to me all the time, is that I forgot to breathe. And then it's like, oh, okay. So that's why it's called, it's weird that we call it mindfulness. It almost should be heartfulness or
Yeah.
feelness, something different than mind, because it's
That's
crazy, because if I'm in my head, then I'm not in my body. And so it's just important to remember, okay, even if I'm angry, if I'm stressed, remember to breathe. And if I'm still breathing, then there's another possibility that I can create going forward.
I love that. I love that. If I'm still breathing, there's another possibility available to move forward. And it seems like each of my guests have had some sort of hashtag or some sort of like boom. What's coming up for me right now with you is heartfulness. Could that be a new way
Cool.
of leaning in that hashtag heartfulness?
Yeah.
So if anybody, how are we feeling Facebook? How are we feeling Instagram? Drop us some insight on what you feel about heartfulness. And, Thomas, when you said people laugh because they find themselves in their head. And, when I first asked you the question, what might have some people not breathe in these moments? and you said anger and stress. And I could see those being experiences in the mind, in the head. And we know those are not experiences of the heart. So thank you for, you know, bridging that gap from here to here. Because when I think of breath, I think of breath even lower, like down in that intuition, that gut area. And it's just, you know, and when I think of that, I think of groundedness.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's something you're really passionate and really powerful at creating, is groundedness. So step one is breathe. Step two is lean in to, I heard you say, and then who am I? I am loving, I am compassionate. And how does one come up with those who am I things that they can lean into?
Well, my invitation is that if you were to take a deep breath, I mean, I'm just telling you what I do. I'm saying you, but this is,
Yeah.
this is the way I would do it personally. Is that taking that deep breath, being in some space, because the more deep breaths that I would take, the more present that I get to be in my body and right now. And you probably always heard it said is that if I'm living in this moment, there is no regret from the past because I'm not in the past, and there's no anxiety about the future because I'm right here. And a really great way to get there is breathe, even if it's forced and fake in the moment. So, okay, that's kind of fake. I'm being dramatic, but eventually you either hyperventilate, which is not necessarily a bad thing, or you will just go, oh, you get in touch with just a rhythmic breathing that just simply happens. And then I think all of that stuff clears out so that I can be present to, well, who am I? Oh, I'm a dad. I'm a mom. It's kind of making up things for you. Is
Yeah.
there, or whatever it is. And like, well, what are you really committed to today? What are you committed to? What would you rather have right now? Oh my gosh, I'd really love some certainty in my life. I
Mhm.
really, I see a vision of a possibility that my kids are quiet, uh, and giving me a little peace. Oh, wait a minute. But I've been a total, you know what, today to them and my spouse. Huh. Wow. Hmm. And so it begins in this process. I'm kind of going through it with you right
Yeah,
now,
no,
is that it
I think,
begins
yeah.
breathing. And this ties into directly the things that we talked about yesterday about having a vision of an alternate possibility. Um, you know, I have all the time in the world, and reinvention. This is all tied together. This is
Absolutely.
perfect. Not just because I've been going through the reinvention since October, but this is just accelerated part of this. And now everybody's sort of with me, if that makes sense. The whole world is reinventing and discovering who am I? Even if even if the individual that is listening right now that's saying, I'm not quite following along, dude, I just want to know how to reinvent and pay my mortgage. I want to just reinvent and know, will I get a paycheck in the next couple of weeks? Well, the exact same process ties into right now. So you can get started right now, taking a deep breath, being heartful, taking some deep breaths, and coming up with an alternate vision of possibility that you'd like to see in the world and in your life. Or in a couple of weeks, this conversation right here will then be even closer and more intimate.
Mm,
So let me break that down in case that didn't land,
yeah.
because I think I got myself confused on that.
Hmm.
Either you realize that what I'm saying is actually not woo woo, it's the real stuff right now, here and now, whether you are a corporate senior leader, which I was talking to some of my friends that are senior executives at Fortune 100 companies this week, and those that are in the restaurant and the service industry that are immediately eliminated. Either you get it right now, is that this is the moment you have to reinvent. And it starts with taking a deep breath and looking at a vision of possibility. Or you may say, okay, what is this spiritual woo-woo crap you're talking about right now, Thomas? Maybe in a week from now, you'll be in a little bit more pain.
Mm,
I don't wish you pain.
yeah.
Or maybe it's 2 weeks from now. or maybe it's 3 weeks from now. And I don't need to be right about this. Tiffany, you know me. I really don't need to be friggin' right about this. You know, it's, it's, it's just something that I've seen is that some of us just need a little bit more coaxing and a little bit more, I hate to say the word pain, but a little bit more something going on in our lives to cause us to shift.
Yeah.
Because you and I have both seen people that shift in an instant when the pain outweighs, what's that scale? I'm thinking of a scale right now. When that pain outweighs whatever it takes to actually make that change.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hearing you say is, and I just saw one of these, like a path that, when we're on that path of reinvention, is that it's either something that we are waiting for the reinvention or we're participating in the reinvention. So waiting, what I just heard you say is waiting until that pain grows bigger than the action that it's going to take to reinvent, or the what you said in the beginning, the way you're showing up and like what, who are you being, rather than my title, or like I'm the caretaker, or the volunteer, or whatever that title may be in the moment. And then so that's that way. And then the other way is like, I can participate in this and I can breathe, connect with myself, and lean into the alternative possibilities of a vision that I want, and not wait for something to magically happen, or just sit here waiting for the worst case scenario to go down. So am I hearing you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's really interesting. So, maybe it took me 25 minutes to get to, let's just cut to the chase. You saw the things that you put out, and I appreciate you were really nice and organized and detailed. And you said, okay, so we're going to talk about, the power of a vision of possibility. We're going to talk about you have all the time in the world, this whole relationship with time, and that this whole thing about reinvention. And I just realized is like, isn't that every single moment? And it's something I stand for. These aren't something that I just magically, that I've always, I think I've always used them. I just haven't taken the time like you did to write them down. And there are the three elements, because it's real simple. I mean, let me put it this way. It's simple because there's a system and a formula, and it's these three steps. Yeah. You can make this really, really complex. I think as individuals, we do. Sometimes I make it ridiculously complex, ridiculously complex. Because if I'm breathing and in the moment, I'm going, okay, so dude, this is the only time you have right now. You got all the time in the world. Because I really think it's bullshit when people say, it's like, oh, I don't have any time. I don't have any time. Listen, it's just not a priority. My dad has always said this. My grandfather always said this. In case, Dad, you're watching, you know what I'm talking about. He's probably very proud of, like, you just used something I said. I thought you never liked anything I said.
You're talking about the relationship with time before this new paradigm we're in right now. So you're just generally talking about time. So this is not, and I just want to clarify that, because some people think like, yeah, I'm at home, I have all the time in the world. Thomas, talk more about that. And I love how you lean in here. We've always had all the time in the world.
Yeah. It's been a really interesting conversation, because certainly over the last 4 or 5 years, I've had more people actually say this to me. And they're like, oh my gosh, you just like, you have a different relationship with time. And I say, it didn't start that way. It didn't at all. And something shifted, I think maybe in some of my transformational work. And I started declaring, I got all the time in the world. And it sort of stuck because it was very attractive. It's a balm, BALM. It's like a balm to me to even say, I have all the time in the world. Not meaning it relaxes my anxiety, because in the past, and probably even now, I'm that individual that by default, I tend to anxiety. If anything, it's like going into the future versus the past. So if I slip out of the present, I'm slipping into, oh my God, into the future. So by even declaring I have all the time in the world, I start to realize I really do have all the time in the world, and that time is now.
Absolutely.
Because right now, I am not scared. right now is all I have. And even processes, even percolates at a different level. You can see me, it's like percolating right now because there's little voices in my head of like, what the hell are you talking about? That's a voice, by the way.
Yeah,
Like, what are you, what do you mean
acknowledge.
I have all the time in the world? I don't have any other time. Well, let me ask you a question. How the heck can a head of state, a chief executive officer, Gandhi in the past, the Dalai Lama now, anyone, and you, how is it that we all have 24 hours in the day?
Yeah. I even saw a t-shirt that said Beyonce has the same 24 hours I do. Like
Hey, girl.
what's going on?
You know,
And I
I
love
mean,
that. I love that. And, I think I shared this with you earlier this week, but the conversation also has been coming up about this man-made idea of weekdays and weekends, that the cultural conditioning is like, this stuff happens on the weekdays and this stuff gets pushed and repeated until the weekends. So I'd love to hear your take on the man-made week.
yeah, totally, totally. So this has been a big conversation. I'm thinking specifically of two corporate leaders I was working with.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say corporate leaders, I'm talking about a couple of brands you absolutely 100% know. And because it's easy, what I've found is people in corporate, they can, they can often say, I, I don't have, it's nice if I work for myself or if I could remote work, but I have to work within these bounds. And that doesn't totally work. And do you hear the pug in the background?
Yeah.
She's being
You
cute.
find a friend outside.
Yeah,
We don't need to social distance. Come play with me.
exactly. So anyway, so like working with a couple of corporate people, the I say, yeah, you do. You have the exact same amount of time that I do, and you also have the power of choice. Well, that's easy for you to say. I get all sorts of excuses, and I'm not going to argue about it. And here's the interesting thing is they get to live in their reality, or they can entertain an alternate possibility and be a leader and live into that and be into that and create that alternate reality. Or it's just bitching and moaning.
So
And
walk.
maybe I'm just being short right now, but that it just ends up being bitchy and moaning, you know?
All the friends that are watching, I shared this in the beginning. Thomas is very authentic. He keeps it cool. It's unfiltered, except it doesn't.
I'm over 50, girl. I
Yeah,
ain't got time to fuck around
yeah.
sometimes,
I
I
hear
mean,
you.
just
So Thomas, share. So the mindset of, we have all the time in the world. What works for you? Like, how do you approach, time in regards to the weekday, the weekend, and just
oh,
be clear
yeah.
with the audience that you are, you are an entrepreneur and you work with other organizations. So there is kind of like a fluidity there as well.
So do you mean so that weekends feel, let's say someone enjoys their weekend, but they don't enjoy their work day. How do they
Or,
enjoy?
the
Is that,
person that's like, I can't do that until the weekend, or this is what I do
if you
during
say
the
so?
week, and this is what I do on the weekends.
You
It's like
know,
breaking
I'm
that up.
gentle. I'm gentle with it. It's interesting. If someone's engaged in an executive coaching relationship with me, I'm going to be a little tighter with them on that. I'm just being honest about that. I'm going to be a little tighter with my wording and challenging them because that's part of what they're paying for. It's not just putting up with their same old talk. I'm
Yeah.
pointing that out. Hey, do you notice what you're saying here? I can't do this. Thomas, I'm telling you right now, I can't. And I'm like, okay, if you say so. I mean, if I'm your friend, I'm like, it okay. Like what? I mean, you're just gonna leave it lie? And I'm like, well, what do you want me to say? Because you can blur those lines. You have the power to blur those lines. I can't make you. I can't motivate you. I just don't believe I can ever motivate or make someone do anything. If I could, oh my gosh, that would be super, super
Let's
powerful.
do it. Let's do it right now. Let's lean in.
Okay.
And what's the message? Not the advice. We're not here for advice, y'all. What's
Mm,
the message, and what's the language we use, or you use in particular, in regards to supporting someone shifting that mindset around this can't happen until the weekend, or this is what I do on the week, like shifting that.
What's another possibility?
Yeah, great.
What's a,
Say that
I
again.
mean, that's what it often comes down to, is like, what's another possibility? Well, nothing else is possible, Thomas. It's like, okay. And I'm not going to fight. I'm not like a fighter like that. I will ask that question. What's another possibility? There is no other possibility. Okay, so buckle up, baby, because you're going to continue to get what you got. I mean, does that work for you? Is
Sure.
that cool with you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And I've had a friend, and this is exactly what she said. I just want to bitch and moan for a moment, Thomas. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. She didn't want support. Her support was, I just want to complain about it for a moment, and then I'll shift and I'm cool.
Great.
Then there are other people that are like, what do you mean by what's another possibility? Well, what's another, okay, in your crazy, 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 like fantasy in your mind, like what's another possibility? Well, another possibility is that, I don't know, my weekends feel like my weekdays feel like my weekends, and it's just amazing. Okay, great. So what does it look like? What does it sound like? Who's there? Like really play in that fantasy and that daydream, if you will. And what's it going to take from you? What's it going to take from you to actually create that? Well, first, maybe I need to believe that it's possible, no matter how wild and fanciful that is.
And to me, that sounds like the vision that you talked about in the
Mhm,
beginning,
mhm.
connecting back with what, like taking a breath in the moment. Okay, I get to now lean in to create. And in my experience, in order to create, you get to pause. I know there's this notion of like multitasking, and I could like think and do at the same. And yeah, I'm sure that's a possibility. Yet we owe it to ourselves to pause, breathe, connect, and then what you offered earlier. What is that alternative vision? And that's what I'm hearing you say. What's another possibility? So let's drop in a specific. I hear this one a lot from my clients, from my friends. Oh, Sunday or Saturday is when I spend time with my family. So the first thing that pops up for me, maybe from judgment, maybe just from curiosity, because we're keeping it real, Thomas, right? For me, I'm like,
Yes.
what's going on the other 6 days? Like, what? It's just the way they deliver. And I get it. Like, that's why I'm throwing out all possibilities here. So let's lean into that conversation where Saturday or Sunday or both is like the time I spend with my family. What's kind of yours, like offering an invitation here for us to look at when we're in that mindset and in that conversation with ourselves?
I, I guess, and help me break this down, because maybe I just look at it as it's simple from an analytical point of view, is that what is another possibility? The real work comes, I think, to some degree. Well, no, I mean, in my experience working with people, is that the real work comes in, who do I get to be? Who do I need to be? Who do I have to be to bring that into reality? Use whatever wording tends to work for you. I'm open.
Yeah, and that's your
That's
reinvention.
it.
Like you're going to
Hmm.
reinvent right now.
Yeah.
Like if you are moving through what you just shared, that means there's a reinvention that's about to happen. And that's, in my experience, where the actual alternative possibility comes to life.
Hmm.
You're willing and able to reinvent in that moment. So, with that, let's talk a little bit more about that reinvention piece, because I really,
Awesome.
when you
I love
dropped
it.
that in, I was like, yes, this is such a time. And Jennifer Nealon yesterday talked about flexibility, that we get to shift, and every moment is a new moment. Like I was
Hmm.
like, yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk more about that. Where do you want to begin with that? Like what's coming up for you right
Well, let's use the example of what's going on right
now?
now. And I always think this is a little bit is it's listen, I'm addicted to change. I'll be honest. I actually enjoy variety, spontaneity, and change. So I let's just get that out of the way, because that's been pointed out to me by a lot of people is like, you just like change for change's sake sometimes. I get it. I get it. And here's what's interesting is that I'd say the majority of clients and people that I work with, or that I think that we resonate with each other, we really hit it off, are my opposite. It's a bit of an opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It's those that are far more analytical and are not really down with change. Change is chaotic. It's like, oh my gosh, no, not any of that. So I remember I was working with he's the chief executive officer of a company. This is a family owned home improvement company. And he probably had a team of about 150, something like that. Not a very big company. It's not a Fortune 100 company or anything like that. And he used to, I'm not even getting all the details about what he used to complain about. He used to complain about a lot of stuff. Okay. But we always worked together, and he would always listen and patiently. He goes, Thomas, how do I get the team to play nicer together? How do I get the sales? There's a whole list of things of like, and he goes, and then every time I'd offer some possibility or kind of coach around where he came to a possibility, and I'm like, oh, so how do you think that would work out? Or what do you think it's going to take from you to make that happen? They're like, oh, we couldn't make that happen. I can't make that happen. And so one of the things that I had said, I think he was really exhausted or something like that. So this is coming to a point here. Is he was really exhausted. And I said, well, what if if you need to be here, do you really have a business? If you need to be here? Because it was something about, it's just like, one of the visions of possibility is that I want to take a break. I see myself taking a break and, going back to Israel and just seeing my family and all of this. I'm like, okay, great. So when do you get to make that happen? What would it take? And blah, 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 the whole coaching thing. And I can't do that. And I go, well, wait a minute, pause for a second. What happens when you're sick? He goes, oh, I stay home. Does your company shut down? Well, no. I'm like,
yeah.
And I just shut up. And this is a common thing that I've used many times with friends and clients. I don't get why no one else, is it just me? Like, I think I'm the crazy one here, seriously, because I have met very few people that are on that same wavelength. But here you go, the whole friggin' world is sick. The whole friggin' world is at home. And even people that I've ever suggested, I'm like, well, if you can be sick and the world doesn't end and your job doesn't, the world continues. Okay. Your company continues, your life continues. It doesn't shut down when you're home for a week for the flu or something like that. So, but all of a sudden you see the entire world reinventing itself, reinventing. I saw a post of a friend of mine that I remember it was a long time ago, and I had suggested something, and she's in leadership at a banking institution. And I had suggested, like, what about work at, remote work occasionally? I'm like, oh my gosh, we could never do that. That doesn't exist in our industry. There's no way.
The whole
In fact, she was so forceful.
never comes crumbling.
It was like, yeah, here's the interesting, oh, that's easy in tech, or, I'm like, what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
But it was like, no way. I'm a doctor. I'm a nurse. I'm a branch manager. I'm a insert the blank. It's like, it's coming back to you. If you say so, you are what you say. How do I know this? And I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm pointing the finger, because I physically am, but it's not my intent to point the finger and say that I'm right and you're wrong. It's really not. It's just that sometimes I get really passionate and impatient sometimes. And it's that I've seen this again and again and again and again, is that having an alternate vision of possibility requires you to be someone that you have not been. To actually execute and bring that into reality requires each of us to be something we have never been before, to do things that we've never done before, to have that vision of possibility that we could have never dreamed of. It's not easy.
Thomas. I love that so much. So let's thread the needle. Let's bring it home for everyone who's watching. and where we are right now, which, you know, you started to lean in that area, is that right now this is the opportunity. What a beautiful time to reinvent yourselves, you know, and you are in an alternative possibility right now. One of the ones you never considered, yet here it is. So I want to go back just 1 second, because I dropped this in, is like that paradigm of never is starting to crumble down. Like we could never do that. That's never going to happen. I'm never going to go there or be that, or, you know, that paradigm now is starting to crumble down because we're already, like you just said, we're already being this new way of being. We're operating in a new way already. And we've been, you know, quote unquote, inside for what, like a week and a half, technically, some more, some less, give or take where you live. So let's thread the needle and bring it home. Like what's the piece you want to leave everyone here with today? You know, you started with,
Hmm.
you know, that alternative vision, and taking everyone through a few simple steps. And I love that about you. Simplicity is like, and just your jam. And then, excuse me, talking about time and our relationship with time and that paradigm of we got all the time in the world, and then bringing it home with that reinvention piece of what is possible now, what do you want, and what gets to happen now.
Well, let's first touch on the painful side of things, because again, in case it ever comes across, it sounds like I'm being preachy, or like that's a little voice in my head, and I know you're probably going to coach me on that, of like, no, you don't need to talk about that little voice. I'm still going to do it. It's that this has come from experience. This has come from someone that is in my 53rd year. I've gone through 3 major reinventions in my life. They have not been pleasant. I would never want to do them again. And here I am still breathing. And each time it reminds me to shed another layer. And I'm passing that forward to you. And okay, fine. If that sounds like the old guy talking, fine. I'm going to pass that forward to you, is that this is the only time that you have. You don't know if you're going to be around. Well, I'm not telling you. It's like, I invite you to look at the possibility, is that what if this is all there was?
Mm,
Are you happy? What would you rather have in your life? Yes, I'm talking to you, CEO of that big company. I'm
yes.
talking to you, senior leader at the other company. And I'm talking to you, the new employee at that big company. And I'm talking to my friend over here. Yes, I'm talking to you. Is that what other choice is there? You can either be committed to continuing to moan, groan, complain, hate, dislike, whatever it is over here, and that's fine. Maybe there's a payoff. Maybe there's something you get out of it, and that's cool. We can still be friends. I mean, I bitch and moan sometimes too, and the payoff is sometimes it just feels good to dump, you know? And over here, what is another possibility? Possibility. No matter how outlandish, that I could play with or consider as maybe, in a long shot, if I had a magic wand and a special potion, that maybe my life, my business, or whatever could look like that. Some alternate possibility. And remember, when is now a good time? When is the right time? When is the right time to look in the mirror and say, wow, who do I get to be to take a step in that direction? Maybe it's courageous. Maybe it's honest. Maybe it's authentic. Maybe it's just loving. Maybe it's trusting. Maybe it's a person of surrender. Maybe it's scared and do it anyway. That's what I did. Because here's the thing. I remember there was a period of time, Tiffany, that one of my reinventions is that for most days after this particular thing happened in my life, most days for that next year that came after that, I got so exhausted in my life. And this is how low I guess I felt. This is what I felt, is
Yeah.
that I went to bed saying, God, I hope I don't wake up. I'm fucking done. I'm so tired of this bullshit. And you know what? I kept waking up. I kept waking up. I kept waking up. And so what it taught me is I surrendered into, well, I guess there's a mission. I guess there's something I could do. Now that may sound tragic and sad and all of that. That period's gone. I don't go to sleep like that anymore. But all I know is that I kept waking up. And so maybe that was the universe and the world reminding me is that this is the time you have, Thomas. You don't need to be impatient. You're perfect right now, even with nothing, with just as you are. What can you do? Who can you be right now? Maybe it's just trusting and surrendered into taking and doing things that can move you in the direction of this alternate possibility for your life.
Beautiful. Thank you, Thomas.
That's
Wow.
reinvention.
You know, Thomas, thank you so much for just your vulnerability and just, you know, the sheer authenticity this morning and this afternoon, depending where you are in the world. And, you know, let everyone know where they can find you. And, you know, Thomas will also be joining me I see Thomas, there's a lot of questions and comments coming in that you may or may not be able to see.
Do you want to take a moment? Do you want to read through them or see if we can answer
do it
some?
offline. We can do it with them, like in the comments. So just know at some point today, Thomas and I will come in and we'll respond and we'll love up on you. And for those of you who are watching us on Instagram as well. So Thomas, let everyone know where they can find you if they want to chat with you and just maybe go deeper with you. I definitely want to go deeper with you and have you back on at some point. So let the folks know.
Yeah, connectwiththomas.com. That's the best place. Connectwiththomas.com. I'm on about any social media channel that you could possibly find. If you're on Insta, then you probably already see me tag Thomas Mangum. That's it. No dots, no dashes. And so on Facebook, you'll see two. There's the Facebook page where I probably do most business, and I actually enjoy being in the public page. And then there's my friends account, like my profile account.
Yeah. Amazing.
You can get to them all from connectwiththomas.com, LinkedIn, all of those.
Great. And we'll drop it in the comments here as well. So tomorrow, my guest tomorrow is Beth Osmer, who is, yes, I know, I'm so excited. Thomas knows Beth as well. So tomorrow at 12:30, I'll be joined by Beth Osmer, and we're going to be talking about the spiritual side. She actually has her online series happening right now live, and really going deeper into what Thomas referred to earlier as the woo-woo aspect, and really diving into, you know, navigating through that aspect of who we be right now and what's possible, as Thomas shared with us, you know, when we lean into spirituality and all of that beautiful universal space. So Thomas Mangum, thank you so much. I love you. And thank you for sharing everything here. Again, we're going to jump into the comments and respond to everyone. Guys, have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thomas, thank you so very much. I love you.
Very, very much a pleasure. This is fun, and I hope it was a contribution.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Have a beautiful rest of your day.